Hello everybody. Hi, how you doing? I hope you're having a great Thursday. I can't complain. Welcome to another episode of Death Stories Living Truth, where we watch near-death experiencers tell their story and we pick up what we can. We learn what we can about living and we learn what we enjoyed the last episode, and this episode sounds like it's going to be really interesting. I have not watched the video yet. This one is from Coming Home channel. So if you want to see the video yourself, it's at Coming Home channel. And here we go. Let's get started.
Going up the hallway to go back into the family room, and I saw my body in the chair. It looked like I was sleeping, and that freaked me out. I just didn't, it's like, whoa, how can I, how is this happening? I was just totally freaked out. I didn't know what to do. I've never been that scared in my life. I prayed to God. I said, God, look, I need some help here. I don't know what to do. And this being came. He had colors all around him. He kind of looked like a human. And he had like curly hair. He was a bit taller than me, and his feet didn't touch the floor. It just kind of blended into the air. I got a good vibe from him. I felt comfortable with him. We started talking, and I said, well, who are you? Where'd you come from? And he said, well, I've been with you all of your life. And he started telling me things like how I felt when I was like 4 years old, when I got into that house, and I would go to bed and I would pray to see my dad, He knew everything about me, and he proved to me that he knew everything about me. That's when I decided that I was going to go ahead and trust him. I'm David Oakford. I grew up in Warren, Michigan. Pretty interesting childhood. My mother and my father divorced, and my mother remarried. She remarried a guy that had 5 kids, and there was me, my brother, and my sister, so that made 8 kids. A small 3-bedroom house. We also had like what's known as a funny uncle that lived there.
Wow, that's crazy. That's a lot to blend a family. And now you have 8 kids. To go from having 2 other siblings to, what is that, 5? That's crazy. 6, 7, 8. Oh my gosh, that's wild.
And he just loved my sister. And that set the tone for a lot of things when I grew up. I knew too much of things when I was like 4 or 5 years old. I knew about sex. Which I never should have did at that age. And it changed things for me. It was like, changed my whole outlook on things. It was just too much, to know. I should have been playing with Legos or some stuff, Then I went to school. I did great in school. I did great, but I had like a sadness about me, Was thinking about, like, my father. He was gone. I never saw him. I never met him. Still haven't never met him. He's gone now. And I wanted him. Is what I wanted, because I saw him in court when he signed off on us. And then I wanted him to take me away from where I was. I didn't like where I was. I didn't like the people there. I really wanted to be with him. And he never came. I had anger, I had a lot of anger issues. I was always angry. When I turned 13, I decided that I was going to do anything that I wanted to do because I was 13 and I was, I consider myself an adult. So that's how I started. I started smoking marijuana, and I drank too. I drank a lot. The drinking was really bad. That's what started pretty much everything. When I got into high school, I did all kinds of drugs. I tried pretty much everything. So I had a lot of experience with it. And then the night that I had the NDE, I tried something new that I never tried before. I was 19 years old. I had friends that could get me anything that I wanted to get. And we had this party. We drank all day, we listened to music all day. We had this bootleg album from the Doors. And I wanted something else. I wanted something a little more. More than the weed, more than the alcohol. So my friend said, well, I can go get you something. So he went out and he got some stuff. And he brought it back, and it was like a brown rock that was, it was like a gram. It kind of looked like hashish, but it wasn't hashish. He said it was some kind of cocaine. And he told me not to do anything with it until he came back, because he had another delivery to make. Well, I didn't trust this guy. We weren't the best of friends, and my friends all took advantage of me. That's what they did, and I thought he was going to take advantage of me. So I thought, well, it's cocaine. What do I do? Okay, well, I'll crush it up. It ended up being crack cocaine, but I crushed it up.
Wow, that's crazy. That just in that moment, everything for him is going to change. Because he was looking to escape. And I think that is so common. So common. I mean, I can't tell you the number of times that I felt a heavy moment and all I wanted to do was escape. And I can't tell you that if there wasn't somebody there with a drug that promised me that escape, that I wouldn't take it, because I might have in those moments. I understand that kind of despair. It's so hard.
And I snorted it. And then I was sitting at the table, the kitchen table, and then my friend came back and said, what did you do? I told him, he says, oh, you're going to die. So that shit will kill you. You shouldn't have done, you should have waited, And I was like on the up, I was getting up, higher. And then I decided I wanted to go outside to get in the fresh air. So I went outside and went on the porch, and I was standing up and I was about to fall down. So I sat down, and sitting down, I was going to still fall down. So I lay down in the grass, trying to hang on. And I thought, that there was something going on that if I didn't hang on, I wouldn't be able to come back from it. Next thing I remember, I was in the house in this big lazy boy chair. I was sitting in the chair. But I have to think that my friends put me in there because that's the only logical explanation for it. The music was playing, and then the music stopped, and I could hear like noises coming from my body, like tones coming from it, from the different areas, like the heart and the stomach and the glands and all that. I could hear it, and it was like a symphony. It was beautiful. It was, I never heard anything like that ever since, but it was like totally beautiful. And then it started to fade away. Started like one by one, it would fade away, and I could tell that each one was fading away because I didn't hear them anymore. And then I got a little bit scared, but I thought I was aware, so that I was still okay. Then the music started playing that bootleg Doors album, and it was like way too loud for me. And they had a real powerful stereo in there. It was my friend's parents' house, and the music was just playing louder and louder and louder, and it felt like it was cutting through me. And I didn't know what that was. So I got up. I tried to unplug the stereo, couldn't touch the plug. Turn it off, couldn't turn it off. And then I tried to get out of the house, couldn't touch the doorknob to get out. So I was stuck there. I was trapped in that house, and I started getting really scared. I couldn't find my friends. They weren't there. I went into the bathroom to hide in the bathroom, and then that wasn't working. I still heard the music. So I started walking, going up the hallway to go back into the family room, and it got really hard to walk. I couldn't walk, and I was like falling down and stuff. So I crawled into the family room, and I saw my body in the chair. It looked like I was asleep.
Wait, what? This entire time, I thought he was awake and alive and walking around. That is wild. Because he thought he was awake. That is wild. That's crazy.
And I just couldn't figure out how I could see my body from the vantage point where I was seeing. How do you see yourself unless there's a mirror? That freaked me out. I just didn't, it's like, whoa, how can I, how is this happening? Was just totally freaked out. I didn't know what to do. I didn't even know what was going on so I could do something about it. I've never been that scared in my life. I thought to pray to God because I went to parochial school in 7th and 8th grade, and I learned read the Bible and learned a bunch of stuff about God, and I learned about prayer. Well, I liked the prayer concept. I wasn't into the other stuff, but I liked the prayer concept. So I thought I would pray to get help.
Oh, wow, that's really interesting. I've never heard somebody speak about prayer that way. That they've gone to church and they learned a bunch of stuff, but they didn't keep everything, but they liked prayer and they decided to keep that. I like that. That's awesome.
I prayed to God. I said, God, look, I need some help here. I don't know what to do. I asked for help, and this being came. He had colors all around him. He kind of looked like a human, and he had like curly hair. He was a bit taller than me, and his feet didn't touch the floor. It just kind of blended into the air. I got a good vibe from him. I felt comfortable with him. He gave me a name for him, and he gave me a name for me, but they were in like different languages, and I couldn't understand what it was, and much less say it or remember it. So I decided that I was going to name him Bob, and he was going to use David for me. We talk like through our brains.
That's really interesting. So this being doesn't speak the same language, but they're able to communicate anyways. And I believe that. I do believe that language, our words, our spoken language is not our first language. It's not the first way that we learn to communicate. I believe that because I've had children. I've had 3 children, and with all 3 of my babies, they're babies, they can't speak. They can't use language yet to communicate. But I'm telling you, they were communicating long before they were using language. They were communicating. I would know if they were hungry. I would know if they were angry. I would know if something was hurting them. I would know when they were happy. I could tell when they were scared. Like, they were communicating to me without language. So I do believe that we can communicate with each other without spoken words.
We talked, but it wasn't like a verbal talking. It was just mental talking. We started talking, and I said, well, who are you and where'd you come from? And he said that he works for God. And I asked him, I said, well, are you God? He said, no, I'm not God. He said, God is not what you think he is. And then he said, I'm here to help you. What do you want to do? And I said, well, first thing, I want to get out of this house. That's what I want. So the next thing you know, we were out of the house. We didn't go out the door. We didn't have to touch anything. We just walked through and got out. We're in the driveway, and he started talking to me, and I asked him, well, how do I know you're who you are? And he said, well, I've been with you all of your life. And he started telling me things like about my funny uncle and my dad, and he told me things about how I felt when I was like 4 years old, when I got into that house, and I would go to bed and I would pray to see my dad. He knew everything about me, and he proved to me that he knew everything about me. So that's when I decided that I was going to go ahead and trust him. And so then he asked me, he said, where do you want to go? And I said, well, I don't know. Anywhere? He said, yeah, you can go anywhere you want to go. It's like, well, I thought about the pyramids. I thought about the 7 wonders of the world, and snap, just like that, we were in Egypt. And I could see the pyramids as they are now, and I could see them as they were back in their day. And it was weird because I could see both of the times together. So I decided I wanted to see more of the world. So we left and we were like flying. We went like over the Pacific, over the Indian Ocean, over, India and, all the countries. And I could see the energy coming from them. They had colors coming from them, from each of the different countries. And they all had different colors to them. And I asked Bob about that. I said, why are there different colors? He said, well, that's just the energy of the planet. So the same thing with the pyramids. They work with the energy of the planet. And there's other places in the world too that work with the energy. And then we got to the United States, got to California, and the energy was different. In the U.S., it was different. They were all different than each other, all the other places, but the U.S. was totally different. It was like a wild type of energy. It's kind of hard to describe. It wasn't like the energies in the other places. And I saw the big cities, and I could see that there were beings, like I call them like ghosts, maybe. They were around, and I could see their energy. And they were, all different. And so I asked about that, and Bob told me that they are what we become after we're not humans anymore.
Wow, that's fascinating. So he's saying we turn into energy once we leave our body. Well, I don't believe that we turn into energy. I believe that the energy is inside of us right now. That's what's animating us. That's how come I can talk to you right now and I can move my hands around and stuff. It's the energy that is anchored inside of my gut, like in your heart and your gut, in this area right here, that our spirit, our energy is anchored there. And when we die, the anchor releases and our spirit releases.
And there were also other people that had other spirits with them, like me and Bob. They were going back and forth. They were like flying through the air. So I told him that I would like to see the planet's energy all at once. And he said, okay, so we went to the moon and I could see the planet. You know how you look at it now and it's blue? Well, it was kind of blue like that, only it was more exaggerated. It was really pretty. And it had a sound to it too. There were tones coming out of it that were pretty much like the same tones that were coming out of my body when I sat in that chair. That was like awesome. I couldn't believe that. I love the place, but I didn't like what we are doing to it. We were doing then and what we're still doing now to mess up the energy and mess it up, make sure it's not natural anymore. I was sad about that, and I was concerned about the people there too. I felt like blessed that I would see something like that. Not everybody can.
That's amazing that he's aware enough to know that what he is seeing is the answer to most humans' questions, right? That's like the one thing no human knows for certain, and he's seeing it right now, and he's aware enough to realize that. I can't imagine what that would feel like.
It's to see it. And I was honored. It's like, wow, I can see this stuff. I finally feel like I'm worth something. I wanted to go somewhere else. So I thought about, well, look, there's these stars. What about the stars? And he said, I can show you one. So we left. We were flying through space, going insanely fast. And I went by all the planets, all the rest of our planets in our solar system, and they all had the same kind of energy that the Earth had. They also had cities of spirit that were living there, that I could see, that I never saw before. Nobody else ever saw before either. But I could see the cities, and there were souls there. And each of the planets had a sort of purpose to them to teach things for souls to learn. Like to learn love, learn war, learn, things like.
Wow, that's really interesting. I don't think I've ever heard that perspective before, where each planet has souls there, and each soul is on this specific planet to learn specific lessons. That's so fascinating. I've never thought of that. I love that idea. That's awesome. I want to hear more.
Like that, there were different themes to each one of them. I wish I could remember them all. And then he took me to this place. It looked like a star when we were going to it, but when we got up on it, it was more like a black hole. It was like spinning, and it had like this blue inside, and I could see the blue center, and I wanted to go there because I thought, I could live there. I want to go see it. And then Bob said, I want to make sure that you're ready for that first. So he basically told me I wasn't ready. So I asked him, I said, well, what about God? What about God? What is God? And he said, God is everything that you see around you. God is in everything, everybody, every object, everything. God is.
Yes, I totally agree with that. This is so validating for me, because that is what I believe. I believe our spirit, how it's capable to come into this physical form and anchor. I believe that is God. Like, God is us. We are part of God. God is part of every single thing that's alive, everything around us that's alive. Just like they say in the Bible, or he says, I am, the Alpha and the Omega. I am everything. So I believe that. I believe that God is in us. God is in our animals. God is in the trees, the grass, the dirt, the water. Like, all of that is God. The oxygen we breathe in, the gases that we breathe out. Like, God is part of every single thing. So I don't believe that you need to go anywhere to access God. I believe you go inside to find God, because that's where he is. He's inside of you. He's in your soul. He's in your spirit. Always. And there's nobody that can take that away from you.
God is basically everything. He's not the person. He's just the energy underneath of everything. That's what he told me, and it made sense to me, because I had seen all the energy and stuff everywhere. So I liked that idea. I didn't like the idea from church saying that he sits on a throne and he throws out punishment. That's not what God is, from my understanding. And then I asked him, I said, well, what about Jesus? And he said, well, Jesus is a great master of helping other people, that helps other people. And there are other great masters too that help other people. And I was shown Jesus because that's the one I knew. So, and when I saw him, he did the same thing that Bob did. I could see his face and everything. And he looked just like the painting of him that I saw when I went to parochial school. He looked just like that. And then he went away. It stopped. I only saw him for like I don't know, maybe a second. Hard to tell time. But I just saw him just briefly that way. And then he turned into this white light. It was completely white. It was beautiful. He surrounded me.
See, and I believe that is a form of comfort. So Jesus showed himself in a way that he was familiar with. I don't believe that means that's what Jesus looks like the Christian depiction of Jesus. I don't believe that. I believe that Jesus will show you what he looks like depending on what you believe. So if you believe that that's what he looks like, then that's what he's going to show you. I believe he looks a different way. So if I met Jesus, I would see him the way that I see him. But in reality, with whatever it's reality, he's just energy. He's light.
With that light. And it was like I was inside of him. He picked up on my emotions when I was looking at the planet and about the people and what we're doing to it. And then he said one thing. He said, tell everyone to love one another and all will be well. And then he left. And after he left, I could see all of the planets all on a line like this. And I could see all their auras and everything. And I could hear all the tones from all of them. And when they put them all together, it sounded just like the tones that came from my body. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's basically my energy is what the tones were. And it's the same thing with the planets and everything. It's all their energy and how they are. And it was like totally beautiful. There's something that I'll never forget. I mean, I could see all the auras all at once, and I could hear all the tones all at once, and I could see there wasn't anything bad about it. Just felt right. I knew it was right. Just deep down in me, I knew that it's how it's supposed to be. We went to this place. It was kind of like in the clouds, and there's a city there. And we came down into the city, and there was on the left side, there was this building, like a house, big house, like ones here in California. And then on the right, there was this big building that went on and on and on, and it went up to different stories. And I didn't know what that was. It was white. It had wood framing, brown wood framing around the windows. Same thing with the house. Went into the house and went up these stairs. For some reason, I could like touch the stairs. I don't know how that worked, but I went into like 4 different rooms. And I saw 4 different spirits. They were all concerned about why I was there. They knew I wasn't supposed to be there. So I left the house, and we went to the building next door, the big building. There was these double doors, and went to walk in there, and Bob opened the doors, and we walked in, and then there was this bench to the left of me. It was wooden. And there was these doors, double doors with gold knobs on the right to go into a room that was there. So Bob told me, he said, just sit here. I have to go in there. Just sit here and relax and don't worry, everything's going to be okay. So then he went in there, and it was a little bit, and then he came out. He said, okay, it's your turn to go in. He said, but go in there. Do not be afraid. Be honest. Do not lie. It's like, okay, those 2 things he told me not to do. And I went in there, and I saw these beings that were sitting around this table. I was looking at them, and I remember one of them from when I was there before. I understood that wasn't the first time I was there. They went around, and each one showed me like my actions from my emotions.
This is really interesting. I have never heard the life review done this way. I've heard people have their life review a few times, but usually it's like a screen that's all the way around them, and they can see all these moments playing out, and then they feel how they made the other person feel while they're watching all of this. I've heard a life review done this way, but never like in front of a council. Like, this is crazy.
And they show me stuff like, they show me, funny Uncle Eddie. They show me, getting high, getting drunk all the time, getting in trouble. I was stealing things and vandalizing things, and they show me all that stuff. They asked me, they said, well, do you think you were more positive or were you more negative? And I thought about lying to them, which Bob told me not to do that. And I was also scared. I wasn't supposed to be scared either. But I was both of those things. I did that. And when they asked me the question, if I thought I was more positive or negative, I had to tell them that I was more negative. So I did that. And then they said, well, you have to decide whether you want to stay here or whether you want to go back to your life. And I told them I want to stay here. They said, no. You have to think about this first. And and I argued with them. They kicked me outside into this garden. Garden had a white bench, stone. And I was sitting there thinking about what I was going to do. It's like, God, this place feels great. I want to stay here. I really want to stay here. What can I do to stay here? And then Bob came. He sat next to me. And he said, well, what are you going to do? I told him, I said, oh, well, I want to stay here. And he said, well, it's probably not a good idea for you to stay here. He basically said that if you don't learn how to handle your energy properly, it's you won't do what you need to do. I think what he meant was me handling my emotions and having control of myself and just deciding what I want to do instead of just willy-nilly doing whatever came. We talked.
I feel like Bob is telling him he needs to be more intentional with his life and with his energy, that he needs to learn how to use his emotions properly, how to not allow his emotions to control him, for him to control his emotions. And that comes with understanding that you are energy and your thoughts are energy. So what you're thinking, you are manifesting. So if you're sitting there thinking, I'm a horrible person, I've done everything wrong, my life is a mess, that's what you're manifesting, regardless of what you put on a vision board. If these are the thoughts that are running in your head that you're not telling anybody, that you think are private and just to you, the universe hears that and feels that and acts accordingly. The universe doesn't know about good or bad. The universe isn't like, oh, they didn't really mean that. This is really what they want. This is just a bad thought. No, whatever you are thinking, most often is what you are going to manifest.
And I decided to go back. And he said, good answer. There was a river there. And Bob told me that the river was called the River of Forgetfulness. What it was it would take away the things that I learned during the near-death experience that I cannot share. So I went in there and I went through the other side. On the bottom, when there was a place to go to get out of there and go into space. Well, when I got out of there, I saw this trail. It was like a glitter trail. And so I followed that because I had to go home on my own. When I got there, I stood by the gate and I watched the sun come up. I couldn't believe it. It was like, it like warmed my soul, is what it did. And then I went back into the house and went through the house, not through the doors, just went the same way me and Bob did. And I was standing there, I was looking at my body and I said, do I really want to do this? I mean, I could go anywhere I want to, you know, I'm in spirit, we just did it. But I also knew that when a spirit dies and it doesn't go to where it's supposed to go, like the city I went to, you eventually forget everything. And I didn't want to take the chance. And I also knew that there were dark spirits out there that would try to waylay me and hurt me. And I knew that, and I thought about, well, do I really want to stay out here? So I decided to get back in my body. And I kind of laid on it, on top of it, and I just kind of laid it, and I just melted right into it. And when I came back, it was like a jolt. It was like, you know, like a slap in the face, you know, something that fast. And then I was totally awake after that. The first thing I did was make sure that everything worked. You know, my eyes, my brain, my ears, my nose, you know, toes, everything like that. Made sure everything worked. And then I got up. And I was all excited from what I saw. I remembered everything. And I told my friends were all passed out on the floor. And so I said, guys, listen, look what I did. And I tried to tell them, and they said, oh, dude, just stop your crazy talk. They didn't really believe me. They were the ones that said, you're just on a drug trip. That's all it was. You know, you don't have to, none of it's true. You're just making this up. I said, well, you know, screw you guys. And I left, and I went home. And I tried to lay down in my bed. I tried to sleep, and I couldn't sleep. And this was like about 6 o'clock in the morning. Heard my stepfather get up, and I really needed to tell someone about it. And I thought about telling him, but he was taking a shower, and I didn't want to slam him with something like that before he went to work. And then, so he went to work, and then I saw my mom. I started telling her about it, and she said, I don't want to know. And I went around.
Isn't that the truth, though? That is so true. So many people's energy is so closed off and so shut down that they can't even hear a story about something different, about a way to change it. And I think that humans innately know that once you hear it, you can't unhear it. And that means that they're going to have to be responsible for their own energy. Once they know, you can't unknow. Like when you hear it, and once you know something is true, you feel it in your body, and you can't change the way your body reacts to that truth. It is what it is. And I think that's why humans push back so hard against learning new things about their energy, about their consciousness.
To other friends that I have, and I tried to tell them I did this all day, and nobody wanted to hear it. Nobody, I'd talk about it, but then I get to a certain point and then they'd lose interest in it. It's hard to believe that something like that would happen. Most people just don't believe in it. I know that it was real. I know for deep down in my heart and in my soul. And it was like the biggest deal in my life. It was the biggest thing that ever happened. I holed up at home for the next 2 weeks. I didn't go out. I didn't see my friends. I really didn't talk to anyone. I just kind of hibernated for a couple of weeks. After that, I went out and I got a job. Easiest job to get. I worked at a Taco Bell. And that's, what I did for the next couple of months. And then my stepfather got me a job at the machine shop he worked at. A shop that made milling machines. And I started working there. I was still in the same old place that I was in before. The same old place, and my same old friends were there. Of course, I didn't hang out with them after. I needed to make a change. And that's why I moved out to Montana. And I'm really glad I did. I mean, Montana's a beautiful place. The mountains there, they have a special energy to them. And, all you have to do is look at them and you get some of the energy from them. That's one of the things that I like about my life now and where I live and what I've been doing. I mean, I've been largely positive. I mean, the jobs I worked at, they loved me. Now, of course, I'm washing dishes, but they loved me. They took care of me. The first summer I was here, I was working at a place called Glacier Park Lodge, washing dishes there. I got an award at the end of the season for training foreign students from other countries. Like I trained 3 Japanese girls one year. I trained a guy from Turkey. The last season I was there, trained a guy from Kyrgyzstan. I like my life now. I think I had this experience because I had to have something to share with other people and some lessons to learn, like how we treat each other and what the consequences can be if we don't treat each other with love, the consequences for the planet if we don't think about and act in love, how that's going to hurt the planet. And then also things like how the planet will help you, the energy of the planet will help you, because you're a part of it. I'm hoping that people...
Yes. Now, isn't that the most profound thing? That you can be helped by the energy of the planet because you are a part of it. Like, us humans feel like we're so separate. We're separate from each other. We're separate from this planet. Like, we're just separate, and in reality, we're not separate at all. Like, we're all immersed in everything. That's why you feel, when you hear somebody's story, you can feel their pain. You can feel their heartbreak. You feel it inside of your body because we are all connected by the energy, right?
People see the story and listen to it, that they will make better choices in their lives, more positive choices that make more positive choices. When you be kind to anyone, that's what your default action is supposed to be. The goal is to make your life more positive, because when you do that, and this is my opinion, when you do that, you will end up being able to stay in that place that I went. I call it the Spirit City, is what I call it now. But if you go there, the experience that you have there depends on what you do here, because that's what I was shown, was what I did here. So I try to tell them, just, be careful what you make. Be careful what you intend to make, because it makes a difference more than you know.
Absolutely. I believe that. I believe that's why we're supposed to lead with love, because how you treat other people matters. You're going to feel that later. You might not feel it right now. Like how you made this person feel, you might not feel it right now. You might think this was a stranger. I'm never going to see that person again in my life. You know, I can be rude to them. I can be snappy. I can laugh at them, make fun of them. I'm never going to see them again. Like that will never come back to haunt me. When in fact it does. It absolutely does. And not in the way that you think. You're not judged like, oh, you were a bad person. Look what you did to this person. No, you get to feel how you made that other person feel. Now, if you made that other person feel horrible, then you're going to feel horrible. There's your judgment. But if you made that other person feel great and wanted and seen, then that's what you're going to feel. So yeah, your afterlife completely depends on how you live here, your energy that you are expressing every day, how you're treating others. Because yeah, when you get that energy returned, what do you want to feel? Do you want to feel great? Do you want to feel seen? Do you want to feel loved? Or do you want to feel ridiculed and judged and made fun of and harassed? And that's what you're going to feel. Whatever you made other people feel is what you're going to feel. That's what you're going to feel. That's what you're going to take with you. Nothing else. No houses, no cars, no money, no girl, no boy, no nothing. You're not taking anything else with you. Nothing else with you. So, what really is important in life? What really matters is how you make other people feel. Wow, that was an amazing story. I really enjoyed that near-death experience. Like I said, if you want to see the whole video for yourself, go check out at Coming Home channel on YouTube, and you can see the complete video yourself. And thank you again for being here with me. Thank you for holding space for these conversations. Please let me know in the comments what you learned, what you took from this, what you didn't like, what you do like, what kind of messages do you think this man had for you. Let me know. Until next time, this is Death Story.